think about some of the things that have plagued you as you've grown up, the reality is they're in the past. They actually don't exist anymore. They exist in your memories, and they exist in perhaps your behaviors, but they're in the past. Yeah. Today is today. Today's the present. When I woke up this morning, and every morning when I wake up, I wake up, I'm happy to be alive, I'm happy to have another day, and then I also think about the fact that there's nothing that happened yesterday that can affect me today. I carried that feeling of not being good enough, of not being maybe perfect, and also hearing the words in my head, what will others think? That was kind of programmed in me, that my behavior had to be a certain way so that others wouldn't think a certain way about me. And I carried that for many years. I want to address, what does it mean to align your energy? You know, what does it mean to align your energy with the universe, with what we call universal energy? And I know in the past I've talked about dimensions, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and when you start moving into fifth dimension, that's much more about gratefulness, aligning yourself, letting go of negativity, seeing yourself in the future positively, recognizing how to let go of negative energy, that when it comes into your path, you don't see it as negative, you see it as positive. And that's when you begin to align yourself energetically. But the most important step in aligning yourself is trust, and also recognizing that maybe this, whatever is happening or not happening, is in your highest good. Because sometimes when there are things that we want to create, we think we have to create it, but somehow the universe knows in the future how that may or may not play out, and we get we get protected sometimes. And so I've had multiple experiences where there was something that I felt like I wanted to align with or manifest for the future, and it just wasn't playing out. But then later, something came forward that had already been aligned for me and solved the issue, even though I thought I was going to solve the issue a certain way. And I'll use the story. This is, it's kind of an interesting story. There's a woman here in town. Her name is Iris Bolton, and Iris is an amazing woman. I think she's in her 90s now. And I've known Iris for about close to maybe 30 years. And when she was young, I think she had 4 children. And her son, who was 20 years old, committed suicide. And at the time, she was the director of the Link Counseling Center here in Atlanta. And it was a counseling center that was working with people that had depression and different issues. And it was obviously devastating for her. And although a lot of people knew Iris was, even back when she was younger, in her 30s and 40s, she was definitely an influencer of a lot of people and an amazing counselor. And here she was the director of a center. And when this happened, she immediately felt as though she should resign from the center and that she wasn't worthy of continuing to lead this organization because of what had happened with her son. And her doctor, she had a family friend who was a doctor, who had apparently been a lifelong doctor for their family. And a day or two after her son had committed suicide, he actually sat down with her and said, look, I'm going to tell you something, and it could make you angry, but I'm going to tell you something. But I want you to understand that this situation, I want you to see this as a gift. This is a gift that's been given to you. And she literally said, "What? You mean, how can the taking of a life, my son, how can this be a gift?" And she was angry, and she was like, "There's no way, losing a life, there's no way this is a gift." And the doctor apparently said to her, "I understand, but I want you to remember this." So fast forward 20 years later, 25 years later, come on in. Have a seat. Fast forward, Iris went on a journey, and she began seeking her true purpose in her soulful self. And she became attracted to shamanism and attracted to stepping into who she was. And she went on vision quests, and she consulted with people. But during that time as well, she realized, now this is back in the 80s that this happened with her son. And she realized back in the 80s, there was no really support group or national organization to support people in suicide. And she decided at that point, I'm going to do something. So she founded the National Suicide Helpline. And she actually was on Montel, the talk show Montel. She was actually on Montel and was able to promote that and was able to get national recognition. And she ended up creating that organization. In addition to that, she became and I'm going to say a world influencer, a world leader in suicide support. And over time, many celebrities, Paul Newman and his wife had a son that committed suicide. She flew out and counseled with them. Many people, not only just celebrities, but families that suffered tragedies and suicide. She gave as much support as she could. And so over time, she was able to move forward and make something positive out of that tragedy of her child. And she realized over time that the doctor was right, that this became a gift to her. It didn't take away her pain or her her grief for the fact that she'd lost a child, but she also had other children as well. And she then continued to move forward on this journey in her spiritual quest. And so like I said, I've known her for almost 30 years, and she would have it at her home on a regular basis. She had a drumming circle, and she had a private drumming circle for a group of female friends that they still drum today, every other Monday. And then she has a public open drumming circle in her home the other Monday. And but she's also in her early 90s, and the in-person drumming has been kind of tabled for a long time because of the pandemic. But this is an example of how something can happen in our lives, and we have a choice how we want to see it. We have a choice. I go back to, and I'll use somewhat Adlerian psychology around this conversation, but there are things that happen in our lives as children, all of us. We all have different situations that occur. Some good, some not so good. And it forms our perception of the world. It gives us, this is how I see the world. And then we carry that into our adult life. And as we carry that forward, it may or may not work for us. It may not be the coping tool that we need in order to overcome things that may have happened in our childhood. And I mean, for many people, there are situations that are tragic. And, we've all seen the movies, we've all seen stories, we've seen things where people who suffered tremendous trauma or just didn't feel supported as they grew up, and how that shifted their life. So in order to align with universal energy, we have to really look deep in what is the energy we're carrying now. What energy do we carry? Do we live daily in, what I call victimism, or saying, this happened to me, I can't get over this, or we may not even know how the programming is within us. And that we have opportunities to dig into that, to understand that, at least begin to. So to be able to align ourselves and really start to understand the connection to what I call universal energy, and what I also call greater power, because I do believe in a God, and I do believe in a greater power. In order to do that, we have to start chipping away at some of those things that perhaps were holding us back. And it's possible. I see people doing it every day. Robin's a therapist. She works with people.
She's a coach now.
She's a coach now, but she's also a certified therapist. But Robin understands that, we have things we have to work through. And if we're able to work through those, many of those things that happen to us give us the feeling of not being worthy and not being enough. That's probably one of the biggest things that we all deal with. I deal with it. I deal with not being worthy. I deal with years of just conversations that weren't positive about myself. And, I've been unraveling that for many years. But it can be done. And it doesn't mean that you have to be completely clear of everything in your life. It just means if you're working on it. That's what it means, because the universe acknowledges it. And when we begin to work on ourselves and let go and see things in a different perspective and believe in ourselves, because we must believe in ourselves, when you get to that point that you not only believe in yourself, but you begin to feel that you are connected, to feel that there's a greater power that's going to align with you and you align with it, then the universe delivers. That's when the universe starts delivering. And it does come from supreme trust and supreme faith. And that's why I believe in prayer, because I've seen prayer make a difference in a lot of different situations. It doesn't always have to be around someone ill or sick or passing. Prayer can be about a lot of things. And in my world, I see prayer as asking, is asking, and then meditation is receiving. So meditation is where we get the answers. And if you put those two together, you have a very powerful prayer cycle. And so a lot of people don't realize that prayer, when we say prayer, and we're also giving gratefulness and thanks in a lot of prayer, but we are asking when we pray. Almost every event that I go to, when they have someone that delivers a prayer, it's always asking a greater power, to protect us, to keep us safe, to take care of us. That's asking. We're asking. So meditation. So to me, those are also two actions that can serve us, that can help us. And you can do them in any way you choose. It can just be sitting and thinking and asking, and then it can be sitting later in stillness and receiving. So aligning with the universe is first recognizing that there could be something in your life. If your life isn't going the way that you want it to go, or it's just not, you feel like it's negative, then must recognize, what is it that could be blocking this? Now, you don't necessarily need to know exactly what it is. But if you feel that there's some kind of an energy, but most of the time we know. Most of the time we know, because most of the time when we're sad about something, or we remember something that makes us sad, that's usually what's going on. That's an energy that's going on within us. And, I'll even say, I'll use myself as an example. What I've dealt with in my life is rejection. The feeling that I would be rejected. Even though in my life I haven't been rejected, but I carried that feeling of not being good enough, of not being maybe perfect, and also hearing the words in my head, what will others think? That was kind of programmed in me, that my behavior had to be a certain way so that others wouldn't think a certain way about me. And I carried that for many years. Now, the nice thing about getting older is you don't really care what people think about you anymore. You know, it's just like the other day, I know in social media there's a website that's, I think it's called What the Fuck. And you know, it's the fact that, you know, people use the word in all different places, and, you know, is it once you use it so much, it doesn't even have meaning anymore. But you kind of get to that age bracket where you go, what the fuck, I don't care. You know, I don't really care what your opinion is of me. So that's the one step that, you know, today I want to encourage you to, at some point, you know, you may already know, but think about some of the things that have plagued you as you've grown up. The reality is they're in the past. They actually don't exist anymore. They exist in your memories, and they exist in perhaps your behaviors, but they're in the past. Yeah. Today is today. Today's the present. When I woke up this morning, and every morning when I wake up, I think about, I wake up, I'm happy to be alive, I'm happy to have another day, and then I also think about the fact that there's nothing that happened yesterday that can affect me today, unless I allow it to. And, you know, it's interesting, my husband said to me the other day, I every morning when I get up, he usually gets up before I do, but every morning when I get up, you know, I would say, good morning. And the other day he said to me, he goes, you know, it is so great because you are always happy when you get up. You're never grumpy. Although he you know, sometimes he's grumpy when he gets up. And you know, and I'm not, so I'm like, good morning. I'm like, you know, over Miss Sunshine. And that irritates him too. You know, he's like, oh, why are you so happy? And actually, my mother said that to me one time. My mother actually said in the morning, why are you so happy? There must be something wrong with you. And again, here, I'm happy, and somebody wants to tell me I'm wrong. So the point is if we can learn to discern what others say about us or do to us and so forth, you know, friends, family, society, if we can get to that point, you can achieve so much because you will begin to align yourself with universal energy. In my beliefs, I believe the universe wants us to have everything. It's unlimited. And in order for us to have this human experience, we take on this energy of experiences, some good, some not so good, and then we use those to block. Oh no, I'm not worthy. Don't deliver all those millions of dollars. Don't deliver all those good times. Don't deliver the love of my life. You know, don't deliver the perfect job. Oh no, I'm a human. You know, I have negativity. And the reality is that we can begin to remove portions of that. So today, what I prepared for you was, one, I have a mantra for you that I would love to see you use it in any way that you could. You could say it every day if you choose to. And it's not just a mantra, because just saying a mantra is not going to make it happen, because you eventually have to step into it, you have to believe it, and you have to experience it. And the mantra comes from Louise Hay. And Louise Hay was a nurse who believed, I think her first book was You Can Heal Yourself. And she meant even beyond the physical self. She also meant any mental blocks and things that we had in our lives. So the mantra kind of comes from her sort of spouting this out in an interview that she was in on television one night. And she goes, no, this is the mantra, that if everyone could, you know, say this mantra. And she said, all is well. Everything is working out for me in my highest good. Out of this experience, this so-called problem, situation, tragedy, only good will come to me, and I am safe, and I feel the presence of divine guidance. Awesome. And I think the key words in this is that everything is working out for me in my highest good. Because we don't always know what our highest good is, the universe does. And I think, when I think back about the story with Iris, at the time she didn't know that this situation, which was tragic, was ultimately going to be in her highest good in the future. And there's no telling how many thousands or millions perhaps of people that she's reached or touched in her work and in her being. And she is definitely a woman who has made a difference in the lives of a lot of people. And you can too. You can make a difference in your life, and you can make a difference in others' lives. So before we get into some of the pieces of this, I'd just like to open it up in that, is there anything that any of you are dealing with that you feel is a huge block, that you just feel as though you just can't get over this? And if you're willing to share it with us, so that we can put the energy in the circle, in the space here. And because acknowledging sometimes is the first step to the solution. And also too, keep in mind another mantra that I think is important. It's a mantra I use all the time, is that there are no problems, there's only opportunities. An opportunity to move forward. So anyone have anything that they'd like to kind of bring to the surface, and we could chat about a little bit, and then we could actually apply some of the things that are in our list today. Anything? Any brave enough to bring forth anything? Oh, good. Okay, great. Terrific.
Initially, when you started talking about the hardships that Iris went through, it made me think about my childhood. When I was 5 or 6, I was molested by my older cousin. And it feels like since then I've had these blocks with like victimhood. And I've had several other, I've been in therapy for 8 years for trauma, and I've had these issues with like reframing it so I'm not a victim, but I still feel like there's this like wall. And I'm like,
yeah,
I want to move past that. And I'm in a place now where I'm like, I have an opportunity to shadow for social work, to start helping and giving back. And that's a huge part in trauma healing, is to be able to start giving back.
yes.
And I'm so like nervous that I'm gonna screw up somebody's life and not be able to be fully present and helpful. But I also think it's also on another higher level, something that this situation happened to me and all these other situations that have happened to me in the past through my 20s to get me to this place in my 30s where I'm strong.
Yeah.
I'm capable.
Yeah.
I'm able to be the woman for that child who didn't have an adult that was safe. And now I'm capable of showing up for children and teens and high school. I'm starting in high school age levels. I'm capable of showing up for those people in that age group who maybe don't have someone. And I'm terrified. So I'm empowered, but I'm terrified.
Well, and actually, that's not a bad thing, because it means that you're human. It means that you're having normal emotions around that. And the other part is, you said it, or you just said it, is that you believe that many of the things that happened in your lifetime were setting you up to be able to support and serve others, and to also help you perhaps really begin to get clear, or at least get started on feeling connected to your purpose, to what your true purpose is. And that's another key. You bring up a good point, is that the closer we get to recognizing maybe we have a purpose, we don't necessarily have to know exactly what our purpose is. Sometimes we can just be our purpose and do our purpose, and not even really be concerned as, oh, this is my purpose. You just do things.
And I think I don't know, it feels like the craziest part is that I kind of have this dream of, because I'm a massage therapist too, of like tying together chair massage with talk therapy eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I know I'm on the right path now of starting that venture. I just have no idea how it's gonna end up. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't
being
matter.
able to, yeah.
Because it's
Well-
gonna show up the way it needs to. I
Right,
mean, I've started off at one level and and I'm completely different
Yeah,
right.
in what I'm doing.
'Cause
And
I
I'm an
think
LCSW, so.
I think that's awesome. Like, I think it would be so neat to, not just neat, but so rewarding and fulfilling to help people, especially with trauma, to be able to be clothed on a chair for chair massage and be able to have massage while talking through things and being able to come back and ground into their body without
Yeah.
feeling too exposed
Right,
and, out of, and be able to get up at any point. in
That's
their
gonna
ability.
set you apart from other chair massage for people and other therapists.
yeah.
That's gonna make you unique.
Because
And
the,
that's what's cool.
because trauma, different events that occur kind of locate in our body in different ways.
Yes.
According to Louise Hay, there's a lot of things that we
Right.
carry within our
I
body.
read the whole book.
And in chair massage, that is, you're actually starting to recognize where some of that is being held. And that is, that's a very important role in life. But again, what you just said earlier, the reality is see, you're worried whether or not you'll be perfect. And the reality is you're already perfect. See, you're perfect. We don't realize that. We all have a journey, and this is just my own little belief. We all are born and we have a journey, and I think of it almost like numerology because I work with numerology as well. We move in 9-year cycles, and so we're on this journey. We're on these cycles, and wherever we are on that cycle, whether it's positive or not so positive, is perfect. Because that's an event or a situation that's going to get us in the next step and the next step. And again, if you can look back at things that happened, like in your childhood, and if you can see them in a different light, then you can start to recognize, I can use this energy. Now I can use this because it was perfect. Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. But like I said, I know a lot of people that because of something that happened in their life, it could be small too, it could be something even positive, that it was a positive situation, but they saw it as negative. And they framed their life around it. In fact, we frame our life. We have an underlying energy platform that we frame our life on based on whatever the different things we were as childhood. It's either going to be lack, or it's going to be judgment or being rejected or something along those lines. That's how we frame our lives around that event or that situation. And again, once we recognize it, then we can start to work on it. And I think it's often said, can't solve a problem until you acknowledge that you have it. And that's where also too, spiritual awakenings awaken your vision in that you start to see things you didn't see before. And it is so important to always ask yourself, what could I do to learn more about myself? How could I learn more about myself? And sometimes it is just between interactions. Today you might walk away today going, I learned something new about me. And how can I use this now? How can I use it? But thank you for sharing that because, we had a conversation last week and see, I see people differently than they see themselves. And that's one thing that I'm grateful for as a gift. I always tend to see the energy of the person. And I can kind of even see if you just kind of let go of this and let go of that, you'd be surprised how you would just awaken your energy, your purpose, your gifts, your life, everything. Your life could be so full of wonderful things. And that's for all of you. all of you could literally have so many wonderful things in your life. And here's another piece. I think, and I think we talked last week about jobs. We talked about, situations and so forth. But again, if we can look at any situation that occurs and say, okay, this doesn't feel good, I'm scared, but wait a minute, what if this is meant to happen? What is around the corner for me? What can I actually do now? Maybe this is an opportunity for me to look at my life differently. Instead of focusing on the negativity of having lost my job or being laid off or whatever, is to look at the opportunity around that. What is my opportunity now? And I've known a lot of people that, spent 4 years going to school, getting a degree in an area, and then they get a job in that area, and then they go, oh my gosh, I hate this. This is not what I want to do. And now what do I do? But it's an opportunity. You have to look at that and say, but I have a good foundation. 25 years in the corporate world. And granted, it was a good experience. I learned a lot from it, but I realized that there was more, that I felt like I wanted to experience more. And now I've been experiencing entrepreneurship for 20 years, and there are days when I'm like, oh boy, I wish kind of back in that, just somebody tell me what to do, But the point is, I don't really want that. I realize that I'm exactly where I want to be. I'm exactly where I should be also. And when I rely on Spirit to guide me and to show me the way, it always works out. Everything works out as it was meant to work out. And I will tell you, I've had some challenging times. I've had challenging situations. I've had, grieving situations. I've had a lot of different situations. And this month right now in March, just to also help you all recognize, and Jessica's here, she's our in-house astrologer. But according to Jessica, is that March is a crazy month, okay? Because we've got, 2 eclipses or 2 retrogrades, and we've got an eclipse, and so it's energy. A lot, when we say a lot of letting go. I mean, in the last week, one of my relatives' house caught on fire. This is just the last week. My grandson, announced that he was, divorced. I mean, which is like, oh my gosh, they're just, my teenage granddaughter had to be rushed to the hospital, and I'm like, what is going on, But again, we look at these things. These are changes. These are people letting go. This is energy leaving us. This is overcoming situations. And March is just stirring it all up for sure. So according to Jessica, it should be a little better in April. Hopefully a little better. Hopefully we'll kind of start to get up on that surfboard and kind of not be in the waves, but be on the surfboard and cruise in a little bit.
Just keep going to kickboxing
yes.
in the meantime.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Keep screaming in your closet and kickboxing and karate. or long runs, like a long run.
Yeah, that's it.
But again, that's another way to work on yourself, is to recognize what you need. See, for me, people say to me, oh, yoga, you should do yoga. I'm like, I just cannot do yoga. I am a karate girl. So it's like, if, I gotta release that tension. Yoga just doesn't do it for me. And I have, again, I could have this mental block, and there's been a couple of forms of yoga that were more of a relaxing type form that I've been able to participate in, which worked. But basically, I am a personality that I need a much more something physical to release that energy. And each of you should know your own body and know what that is. Because if you truly know it, then you can participate in something that will help you release that energy. And because if you don't participate in something that's going to help you, then it's just going to grow and grow. And then you won't be able to control when you say, okay, now I'm having a breakdown. So the reality is that is the next step is to also understand how you release energy and how it helps you. So let's kind of get into this, and we're going to go through. I'm going to pass this. So there are 2 sheets here. And I didn't staple them. So when I pass this around, just take the 2 sheets. And your mantra is at the top of this page, so that you can take that with you as well. And you know, when I talk about prosperity and abundance, I'm really not talking about I'm not talking about money. Money plays a role in this. It's a part of this. But money is not the entire goal, because money really can't make you happy. Money can give you freedom. That's important. You definitely can have freedom with money. But I was watching a TV episode the other day. It was a talk show, and they were talking about all the people that had won the lottery over the years, and how many of those people had either lost their money or had tragedies around the lottery. And what the point that was being made is that if you didn't know how to manage money before, if you weren't managing your money before, when you got a lot of money, you still didn't know how to manage it, and then you lost it. Yeah. And it goes back to, there's a teacher called Harbecker who does The Millionaire Mind, and he says that the way you manage 25 cents is the way you manage whatever big amounts of money you have. And his whole goal is that as you bring more, quote, money into your life, you need a bigger toolkit. And if you don't create that bigger toolkit for the amount of money you have in your life, that's where you start to mismanage it. And it's a very good point, because you think about, you've got, $500 in your bank account, or you don't even know how much money you have in your bank account. That right there tells you you're not really managing, or you don't know how much credit card debt you have, or you don't know where you're spending your money. That's an indication. If somebody brought you or gave you $1 million, you probably wouldn't even know how you spent that. Mm-hmm. So the point is you have to change your behavior if you want to create something different. So let's take a look at this. And I want to go through, there's basically sort of 10 steps or 10 practices. And I'm going to kind of walk you through a lot of these, and we can talk a little bit about it. But I think the bulk of this is about going back home after today and figuring out what steps or pieces of these work for you, and what you can begin to incorporate in your life to align yourself more with universal energy. And then, we have to also recognize that prosperity is a feeling. It's a feeling that flows within us. And we can feel prosperous, and the more we learn to feel prosperous and abundant, the more we align our energy. Because then that comes from recognizing what you already have. And then let's look at the power of alignment. So now that means we align ourselves with the harmony of the universe. And that means in a lot of ways of letting go of things that are not harmonious with us. That could be ourselves, that could be other people, it could be situations. How many of you have been in toxic work situations? Very toxic. People around you, or just, management, the company doesn't care about people, you're just a number, you're not treated with respect. And the problem is that you're trying to align with toxic energy. Can't do that. Well, you can, but you become toxic. You become a toxic person also. And then you begin, and think about it, there's just as much power in putting out toxic energy as there is putting out positive energy. So why not use your power to be powerful and positive instead of being negative? So the other thing is, I want you to look at this under number 3 where it says the power of alignment. Look at the one that says alignment involves understanding your purpose and soul's calling. Well, again, you don't have to understand it completely, but you understand that you have a purpose. You recognize you have a purpose. Then cultivating self-worth. That's where most of our downfall comes, is we don't believe we're worthy. And we are all worthy. We are worthy of every minute of our life. And don't ever let anyone tell you that you're not. That you're not worthy, that you're not capable, and that you don't, or to even say you don't have value, or that you're not enough. We all have value, we're all enough. And no other human being can tell another human being that they're not worthy. And then also letting go of those limiting beliefs and fears. And that's a task. That is a process by which we find our way, whether it's reading books or going to a class or going into therapy or being in a group.
With me.
It's
That's what I do.
there's different ways that you work through this. Now, let's talk about steps to align your highest good. Well, we talk about meditation and mindfulness, and, daily meditation. Now, I have a daily meditation, pretty simple. I like to work with tarot cards, so every morning I draw 2 cards. I ask a question, about my day. What will my day bring me, and will I have any challenges, and how will I address those challenges? And I draw 2 cards. I have 2 favorite decks, and I draw 2 cards, and then I look at the answers around those cards, and then I apply those to my current situation, my current day. And I keep those cards. I sort of do them over. I'll do about 10 or 12, and then I'll shuffle the deck again. I'll put them back into the deck. A lot of times I'll write down. I'm not that great about always keeping like a journal of every day of that, because sometimes I'm like, I just don't want to write all this down today. It's in my head. I know what I have to deal with. But I draw the cards every morning. So I know every morning what to expect and what might be coming. Like the other day I drew the death card, and for me, death card is not a negative card for me. And when I drew the death card, I was like, oh wow, this is great, because for me it felt like a yes. And what it was is that yes, the death card is representing that I'm going to let go of some of this anxiety I've been having around my business. I've been having anxiety. The economy is down. And so, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're not in the most positive mode like we've been. So what do I do? But then my thinking goes to, okay, this is an opportunity. What could I do that would be different in my business? Maybe the universe is saying to me, hey, it's time to bring in different things. Hey, it's time to look at different audiences or different opportunities. And so what does that do? That sparks my creativity. So immediately I can take that into a very positive direction and go, okay, I'm not going to stress about this anymore, because I'm human too. And my goal is to move things positively. And I also recognize my behavior around certain things. I can't totally change my behavior, but I can change how I react to things and react in a more positive way. So it is important to have some kind of daily something. But you're the one that sets that. I talk about creating your spiritual lifestyle. You're the one that sets that. It can be anything you want. You don't have to look a certain way or be a certain way to be spiritual, to be living your spirituality and being what I call a loving, caring person to others. You make it the way you want to make it. And then also, and meditation is good, just sitting in stillness or actually meditating. Some of you may engage in deep meditation. And that a lot of times will bring you what we call downloads or information. You start to either think strong thoughts or hear whispers, and you want to take heed and listen to it, and definitely listen to it. And then the last one is mindfulness, and mindfulness really is just paying attention, being in the moment. What's around you? What's going on? And again, being on top of where you are in the moment. How you're feeling. Yes, do you have a question?
I was going to add on the mindfulness, one thing that I encourage my clients to do is get quiet for a moment And then focus on your five senses. And that really helps you be in that present moment. Some of them are harder, like taste is a little harder sometimes, but sometimes you can. So
That's great.
I just wanted to throw that out.
That's right, the five senses. In fact, in a workshop in the past that I did, we would focus on like the sixth sense, and I would pass around fruit. And you'd have to smell that fruit and take it in and feel the aroma of this fruit. And it opens up, you know, and sometimes flowers. Flowers will open up your senses. So that's great, thank you. That's a great suggestion. So let's go to number 2, self-love and self-worth. So it's easy for a sentence to say, recognize your worthiness to receive abundance. But what it's really about is to recognize that you are a divine being. That you are a divine being, energetic being of light. And there's a statement where spiritual beings, living a human life. And I believe that. I believe that now. I might not have believed that 20 years ago because I was too focused in the physical humanness of us, but I'm much more in tune that we are energetic light beings. And then also is to also engage in practices that nurture your self-love and be kind to yourself and love yourself more. Tell yourself, there's nothing wrong with saying, I love me, I love me, I love myself. I love myself, I love myself. Especially if you have something that makes you feel really good, a moment of something. It could be just sitting. For me, I'm a fireplace person, like wood-burning fireplace. And in the winter, every night, in fact, I burned a fire night before last. It wasn't that cold, but because I just like the fire. But I love sitting by the fire. And I feel like all this love around me when I'm just sitting there enjoying this part of the burning of the fire, the heat that comes forth. So that's kind of a thing I love to do. And I tell myself, I love myself. Look what I created, this nice cozy moment. And it just feels so good. So create cozy moments for yourself so that you can love yourself. And then letting go of limiting beliefs, that's probably the hardest step. That's the toughest step. And it's anything around money, success, self-worth, also letting go of negative feelings, and then also stepping into the fact that you are worthy. And the other limiting belief that's very hard for many people in today's world is stepping out of the religious beliefs that were programmed in them as children. And the fact that they want to step away from those beliefs, and they're confused about, do I let go of everything I learned, or do I turn against it? Do I step into something new? I usually advise people, integrate. Take the parts that worked for you and integrate the new parts that work for you. And don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do. Don't let anyone tell you that this is a sin or it's this way or that way. And I will say this, I have this physical reaction when people say that we are all sinners and that we've got to repent, because in my viewpoint, we were born in love and we've been in love, and I just don't believe there's really true sin that's being propagated around the world. I just can't believe in it. So when I see that being blasted on TV all the time, and it is, it's blasted on TV and churches and so forth. And again, I'm not saying that these churches aren't doing some good for others, because we will migrate to what we need. So if people feel they need that leadership, then that's okay. It just doesn't work for me. So you have to choose what works for you. And don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to check out other opportunities. But letting go of limiting beliefs usually comes in a lot of addressing what those are, and talking to others, or talk therapy, or being in groups, or being in a weekend class where you're addressing those things. That sometimes is a powerful way to begin to let go of that. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. You're peeling them back one layer at a time. Then let's look at building faith and trust. And I can't talk enough about this, is trusting in the universe. Trust, trust, trust. That's the hardest thing. Even in the moment when you know, you say, oh, I trust that this is going to happen. And then those little thoughts start to creep in, like, what if it doesn't happen? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And we talked about this earlier. It's like, cancel. You know, cancel that thought. No, I trust. I trust in this. And if you can get to the point to where you can say that and feel it in your body, you're there. You are there. I trust this, and I'm going to move on to the next project that I got to work on. You know, one day my daughter wanted to walk to school, and she was still in middle school, or actually elementary school, and she begged me. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll let you walk to school. She was only like maybe 3 blocks away, but I was just like so nervous about her doing that. And I realized at one point, I was like, I trust that my daughter is going to be safe. She will get to school safely. She will be fine. And I'm just going to trust the universe and trust God. And sure enough, she got to school safe and felt so proud of herself and felt as though I trusted her. So that was what I had to do in order to let that go. And because all these other thoughts came into my head. What if somebody drives up beside her? What if this happens? What if that happens? I was filling my head with all these negative thoughts. But instead I flipped over to trust. And the whole energy changed. So it can change for you in that moment. And then also is you have to release control. That could be hard. Letting go of control. The only person that you can control is yourself. You can't control anybody else or any situation. You can only control yourself. And that's a good statement to remember, because a lot of people don't. Because they spend a lot of time trying to control others. And in reality, you just want to control yourself. If you focus on the control that you have, you will actually be better for it, and you will start to see changes in your life as well. And then, as I said earlier, trust that the universe has a plan for you, and it knows more than you do in the future. It really does. Visualize intentions and feelings. And I'm going to go, you know, we talk about mantras, we talk about visualizing, we talk about vision boards. Those are all good. And those are good steps. Some may work for you, some may not. The key to this is to learn to feel it. So if you want to visualize something in the future or something that you would like to attract, you have to feel what it would be like. So if you truly, literally, if you truly said, gee, I'd like to win $10,000, you have to go into the future and tell yourself, what would I do if I won $10,000? Would you scream? Would you jump up and down? Would you go, wow? Start to go there. Go there and put those feelings in your body. And then when you start feeling that, you create an attraction alignment. And then the last part is take actions toward what you want. Take actions. I think I told the story to this group before about the guy that wanted a house. And one of the things I suggested was, well, just start looking at what you would like. Get in your car, drive around. See what kind of house you would like. You tell me you can't afford one, you can't get one, but that's not going to stop you from beginning to create the one you want or create something. Take an action toward that. Someone that wants to go to college, okay, start researching colleges. You know, start getting applications. Take the action. Because some people, I've actually heard students say, no, I could never get into a really good college. I'm just going to go to community college. And I'm like, no, take actions. Go for it. You never know. You never know what the universe can do. And then I go into 7 is gratitude as a magnet for abundance. And you mentioned earlier about volunteering. And I believe in gratitude. I believe in giving back and really serving others. And then volunteering is sometimes a way to also begin to recognize something that you might like to do that you didn't know you liked to do it. Especially if you're going to make a change in your life, a career change or something along those lines. And as I said, create a daily gratitude practice in morning or night, and that would be your spiritual. What do I do every morning? How can I be grateful? And then, give to others. Pay it forward. A lot of people, I read the other day on something where somebody was standing in Aldi, and they just decided to pay for the person ahead of them, pay for their groceries. And they just said, I just did it because I felt like that, that somehow that individual needed an act of kindness. And it doesn't have to be something like that. It could just be opening a door for somebody. It could just be picking up something that someone dropped in the parking lot. It could be anything that simple, but it's about practicing kindness, practicing giving to others. And then also living in the flow of universal energy. And that goes back to, as I said, accepting and trusting, and then also allowing room for miracles. You have to allow the room for it. You've got to open yourself up to bring those miracles in. And the way you open yourself up is you continue to clean out the negative thoughts, any negative energy. So here's some practical steps. Surround yourself with positive people. Clear your spaces and cluttering represents sometimes what's going on inside of us, and then it shows up on the outside of us. And when you have a lot of clutter, and clutter is because your mind can be cluttered. Declutter your mind too with a lot of thoughts. And then give generously, and that goes back to acts of kindness. Again, focus on solutions, not problems. And shift yourself from a mindset of scarcity to abundance. And I know people who, I remember growing up, I knew people that were not as prosperous as other families, but they were the happiest families that I knew. Two of my friends that in school, when I was growing up in grammar school, and their family, I guess, would be considered at the time underprivileged, or, they didn't necessarily have the things that a lot of other people had, but they were the two happiest girls I ever knew. And their whole family was a loving, giving family. And I felt honored to be able to observe that through my childhood and see how happy they were. And they grew up to be very happy, loving, giving people. And then also is you have to allow this abundance to flow. And as you do, as you align yourself with the universal energy, it delivers. It will deliver to you. And it can be something small. It doesn't have to be something big. In fact, I say practice. Practice with the little things. And the more you practice with the little things, sometimes the big things just come. You didn't even have to work on that big thing. Any questions as we...
I do. So going back to the morning tarot draw, I do a 1-card draw now. I used to do a 3-card draw just because I was like in love with my deck and trying to get familiar with it.
Yeah.
But what were, you said you asked 2 questions and I missed the first question.
The first one is what I should expect.
Okay.
Any kind of energy for the day.
Okay.
And then any challenges or opportunities that would come my way that I can be prepared for.
Okay.
Or be aware of, or
Okay.
just the thought.
Okay, what to expect, and then any challenges or opportunities I should look for.
Right. I did a drawing on a situation years ago with an employee because I was going to give them a review. And it was going to be an okay review, but it did have a lot of development in it. And I thought, I'm going to draw a card on this and see what the reaction would be. I drew the anger card. And I knew right then and there, and also knowing that person, I was like, I know that that person had difficulty in hearing constructive feedback. And so I shifted how I was going to work with them and give them feedback because I knew about their how they would, and that confirmed. I mean, I already felt it, but I wanted a confirmation. And so then I drew another card to say, what would be my approach?
Yeah.
Give me an approach on this.
Okay.
And so I was able to be guided in order to give a good review for that individual, but yet give constructive feedback and wanting them to take a look at shifting some of their behaviors, to recognize their behaviors. And one of their behaviors was not being open to feedback. And so sometimes that's difficult to be able to work with someone, but you have to really focus on them. So that's how I structure different situations, whether it's working with a person or even in business. You know, what are my biggest challenges in words on the cards? It's just illustrations.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty amazing deck. You can just draw that card and then you just let the universe give you your answer. And if you practice that, you'll get more and more information, and you don't even have to have the words because now the information coming in is pretty pure.
Yeah.
So it's called, there's a Soul Deck 1 and Soul Deck 2, and at times it can be very emotional.
Yeah, that's kind of
It's used a lot with therapists use it a lot.
Okay.
They'll show the card to a client and ask them what their feeling is from that card, and a lot of times it brings out a lot of emotions, and it's an interesting deck. So sometimes you don't even need the words,
Yeah.
you just the feeling or the illustration
Okay.
can bring you information.
I'll look into that.
The other thing that I do a lot is I position the cards. When I draw a card, I also always position cards as to whether it's a yes card or a no card, even though I may not be asking a yes or no question.
Yeah.
But that gives me a feeling of, is this a positive, or is this the no becomes the opportunity? And so I know, like when I do that death card, I was like, oh, that's yes.
Yeah.
That was a yes. Now, I could have drawn it and it could have been a no, but I would also understand how to interpret that.
Yeah.
So, but again, I give each card a yes or no energy,
Okay.
too, as I've worked with them over the years when I
Makes
pull
sense.
them.
Looks like if they're upside down or not.
Yeah, yeah.
I've kind of learned to.
Or if they fall
Yeah,
upside
yeah.
down.
I don't always interpret what they call the reverse.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't go there because I can already see the reverse
Yeah.
on a card. So I'm very open about what, you know, a lot of people say, oh, that was upside down, and I go, don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm going to read all of these right side up.
I feel like when they're upside down or if they fall out, I just have to focus on that.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
it's like the universe, like, pay attention.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at this.
And that's a good way to look
Yeah,
at it. That's
exactly
a really good
what
way
I
to look
kinda
at it.
do. I'm like,
Yeah.
this might be important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are there any questions, thoughts, final comments? Ready to go out there and begin to align yourself and start with the little steps and watch them grow into bigger opportunities? Okay, I didn't get a roaring yes.
Take your
I feel
baby
like I've
steps,
been doing
you
it.
know?
Yeah, I mean, come on. It's the universe.
I just had something happen just on Friday. A client that, it's like I'm looking at my clients and I'm like, okay, the first one I want to like decide not to work with me anymore is this one. And so I got a message from her on Friday saying that she was gonna discontinue. And, well, because she just wasn't ready for the kind of work that I do.
Yeah.
And a few weeks back, I probably would have started panicking, oh my God, I'm losing money now. 30 minutes later, when I checked my email, somebody was reaching out to me for a consultation, and we talked. He was so excited because the first person he set up with, because he could schedule directly with that person, because he said I was number one on his list, didn't show up. So he then went back, he said, well, maybe I'm supposed to work with Robin. And then I called him and he sent me so he's gonna work with me, he's private pay, so I don't have to deal with the insurance company.
Right.
This is gonna be almost $30 more a session I'm gonna earn.
Mhm.
And he sent me a message afterwards, and he's like, thank you so much for calling me. He said, I was almost crying on the phone, because it just felt right. And I even asked him when he said something about, I think that happened, so because I'm supposed to work with you, and I'm like, are you kind of spiritual? You know, and he's like, was telling me, yeah, I believe in it. I'm like, then this is perfect.
Right. And that's the way
I mean,
it works.
It was just
is-
like crazy.
That
Because,
is the way
yeah,
it
I mean,
works.
I would have been in that suffering state. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God, where's my money? You know, I'm losing money.
Yeah. But
And
the
now
point
maybe
is,
more.
sometimes losing a client is making way for
made
a
space.
bigger client
Yeah.
and more clients.
Yeah.
And that's the
And
way
a
you have
better
to look
fit,
at
and
it.
he's a better fit.
Yes, you have to look at it. And
Oh,
it is
I
a better
did,
fit.
I
Yeah.
did, absolutely. And I'm doing more and more of that
Yes.
now. But it was just like funny how quickly it happened. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And I told him, it's like, this was lining up for both of us.
Meant to be. And it happens everywhere in all kinds of situations, and if you are aware of it and can look at it, you're creating energy for it to happen again. So when you acknowledge it, you're grateful for it, and you just keep moving along. It's like, I used to tell people who were into multi-level marketing, you know, that really wanted to move forward in it, and I used to say to them, you know, you give your pitch, and if they say no, all you do is go, okay, next, and you go to the next person, and the next person, and the next. You can't dwell on the fact that someone didn't want to take advantage of what you had. And it's the same thing in any kind of where you're selling yourself. If the person says no, you move on. Next. And as long as you do that, more energy comes toward you so that you can go next. And then what you start to see is that then the next means that you're signing that next person up and that next person up. But that's the energy. What happens, a lot of people go to desperate energy. Oh my gosh, I didn't sign that person up. I've got to figure out a way to convince them. No, it's either meant to be or not.
And they also take it personal.
Yes.
And it's like, and I definitely got to realize, like, I know I do a good job. She just wasn't ready, the one that stopped.
Yeah.
And what didn't surprise me at all. I'm surprised it took her as long as it did, actually. I mean, because she wasn't doing any of the assignments in between. I try and, you know, nothing. But it was,
Because you want clients that want to do the work. And you deserve clients that want to do the work, because then they're going to be very happy with the work and they will tell others. But those that
Oh,
don't
yeah.
do the work, they're going to blame you.
well, it's
But
funny.
it really
I
was
have
there,
one
yeah.
that doesn't do the work, and yet she's referred people to me.
Right.
And they're great clients.
And but
It's
that's
funny.
okay. But
She's
but
like, oh, she's great. Da, da, da. It's
Yeah.
like, okay.
but in her mind, you're doing something for her.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really like her as a person.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. So that's
like,
a good
let's go
thing.
hang out, you know.
But that's something to dwell on, because that's how you learn.
Yeah.
That's how you learn.
Oh, I did let go
Yeah.
one client once. Whew.
Yeah.
I
So
was
it's
dreading it.
again, it's about learning to just
Recession.
move on, to let the universe push you right along into the next situation. Let it push you into the next job.
I wanted to ask you, we were talking before everybody showed up, about tarot cards, because it's kind of something that, I mean, I've dealt with people who read tarot cards and also just regular cards, you know, and everything. But what I think it's like for me, I think I've asked the question to someone else that worked here, is that starting your psychic journey, it's like, I don't know how to read cards. I pick up people's energy. I don't, like, I can be around somebody and everything, and just by what is going on with you and everything, I pick up people's energy. An intuition thing, I was doing this thing that they were looking for, that she said, how many gems am I holding in my hand? I can feel certain things, and I know them, but I could either tell you there was 3, but I couldn't tell you the color, or I could tell you the color, but I can't. So it's like, it's kind of like a hit or miss for me, and it's like, and I guess maybe also the thing is that I'm thinking too much about it or everything. But like, I know that in in your workshop, there's, like, I came into, one of the psychic development things, and it was really good, because it was, I had it and I just couldn't come to to this one that just happened. But it's more of a, question for you. It's like, what is the right development thing? Because, when you read from, when you talked last Saturday, you were telling me that I have power, but I don't feel it. I don't know it. It's like I'm there, but I'm not. So I'm like hiding, or am I like holding back, or like, what is it that I'm not doing that's pushing me forward?
Well, first of all, there is no right development.
Okay.
So let's move that out.
Okay.
There's no right way to start your development. The only way is to begin to listen to what comes through to you. So here's an example. Here's what I'll assess what you did when you knew you had gems in your hand, but you didn't know the color. You're like, oh, I could say, did you say it was 3?
Mm-hmm.
I could say it was 3, but I just didn't know the color. Well, here's what I tell people. Make it up. Okay, make it up immediately. Okay, it's green, it's purple, it's yellow. Guess what? Those will be the colors. The point is, your mind immediately blocked you, and the way that you have to go, and this is what's weird. I'm going to say it's weird with channeling or bringing information in. If you make it up, it's actually accurate. Does that make sense?
I've done that before. I've
Okay.
done that before.
And the more
I'll say red,
Yeah.
but the colors were red, blue, and yellow. But I will say like 3. Like this lady had 3 stones in her hand, or I can look at 3 pictures and I can feel which picture it is, and then I'll say it. I'll think it, and that's it. But it's like something is. I feel like something right now where I'm at, but I feel like something is blocking me. Because
Right.
intuition is me.
No, what's
I can
blocking
feel
you
it.
is perfection. You're like, I have to get it right every time.
Well, I am a Virgo, so.
Yeah, I have to get it right. That's what's blocking you. I have to get everything right in my life. And I can't allow just a random thought to come in and give me information. Because I got to get it right. It's not about getting it right. It's about what the feeling is. And if you start getting blocked, then make it up.
Okay.
Make it up. And the more you do that, you open the portal that will, when it brings you the information, you will feel it, and then you will speak it.
Okay, and then on the other, is there like a beginning class? Is there like a class on tarot reading? Because, I mean, it would be nice for me to be able to take a tarot.
Yeah, I do
wanna
have a
do it.
beginning tarot class.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's not on
there
the
is a
schedule
beginning
yet,
tarot.
because I
Okay.
asked yesterday.
Yeah, well,
when
there's-
the next one was.
Well, we did a beginners, and then I scheduled an advanced, but people were afraid of the advanced. They're like, oh, no, advanced. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to schedule one in probably late April or early May.
Mhm.
It'll just be for advanced and beginner. Because realistically, you're going to learn everything you need to know in this one, and then I'll just take you into an advanced practice.
Okay.
And the practice that we do at the second half of the day. And but yes, but you don't have to be intuitive to use tarot cards, but the more you use them, you will become intuitive. But I tell everybody, because here's what happens. I used to teach a class. It was an emotional processing class, and it was a weekend class. And one of the things that when we work with people, especially like a Virgo who thinks, because you're an analyst, you assess things, you're a problem solver, so you see things. You see things that you feel need to be fixed, and a lot of them, you can correct them, you can fix them. But what happens is you omit the ability to feel. So, like, my husband's a Virgo. So if I say to him, how do you feel? He will say, I think. And I go, no. How do you feel right now? Feel. How do you feel? And it's very difficult sometimes for him to say, but I think. And I go, don't think. I want you to feel. Where is it in your body? So when you're working with things, you don't want to always think. Yes, your thinking is going to be good. It's going to help you. but you want to be able to
I'm sorry,
feel.
I'm kind of taking you guys' time, but I'm just asking here. But it's like, we were talking, and you were like, you got power and everything, and I'm trying to, and I'm shifting my energy right now and finding a full-time job and everything, but I'm learning to break down those barriers where it's telling me I'm not good enough and everything. So I'm like, nope, I'm grateful because I have a home, I'm grateful because of this, I'm grateful. So I'm knocking that out, and even people around me, I'm like, nope, we're not going there, you're not gonna, you keep, I live with a family that unfortunately is very passive aggressive, and and I'm trying to stay away from that because that energy is coming on me. So right now, and like listening to how powerful I am and everything, and I'm just like, okay, let me just do this for fun, and I just, did the little thing, and it's like 3. I know it. I feel it. I feel it. Now color, couldn't tell you what color it is. It
Right,
could be
but you
moon.
just make it up,
Yeah.
because the making of it up is your subconscious telling you what it is.
Okay.
See, it moves you beyond the layer of the thought.
The thinking
It takes you
is what's
behind
getting
the
me.
thoughts.
Yeah, okay. So the Virgo in me is, okay. Thank you, ladies, for just
Right.
listening.
Yeah.
And gentlemen.
Huh?
And gentlemen.
And gentlemen, sorry, sir.
Anything else?
Same time, same place.
Same time, same place next week, for sure. Yeah, and then the next weekend is the psychic fair, so we won't have the one, but yeah, same time, same place, so, yes. So I hope this helped.
What's today? No, you're having 2 more, and then the psychic fair.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
the
right,
first week.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
getting,
it's
because
a
there's
long
5 weekends in this month, that's right, 2 more.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Do what?
It's a long
I
month.
know,
Fun, fun, fun.
March, the,
My birthday.
yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
My birthday